to Doxxed, the podcast.
Well, welcome, Shadow, and thank you for thank you for talking to us. I'm particularly excited to hear what you have to say about all of this because you've been watching it from the beginning, I think. I mean, at least from the beginning of when things really started to kick up into some dramatic tornado sort of thing. So I'm very interested to hear how you even learned about this in the first place and sort of where you came on board, I guess.
Yeah, I used to be mutuals with Allie under a different account. I was like a huge follower of hers, and I kind of like took a break from paying attention to TikTok, and then it's just kind of like I was like, what is Allie doing? I noticed that they were discussing a deceased person, and it really shocked me that once I came back, like they were all up in this stuff and it was getting way out of control. And I noticed that the fights were not just between her normal people, it was between like her mutuals, everybody. And it was just like, yeah, it was getting really toxic and way out of control. And she couldn't handle any constructive criticism.
Yeah. Did you ever try to give her constructive criticism in the comments at any point? Do you remember? Or you just sort of,
Yes. And she told me, go away.
but she didn't block you. But she was definitely blocking people later on, even fans, I think, right?
Yeah, I found that Allie doesn't block people that she argues with. She'll keep the argument going. But like if you're just a person like on her live that doesn't like her, she doesn't really know you or anything, like she'll block you. But she won't block Alex Serves Tea. She won't block other people that she's been arguing with for over a year, you know? But because she wants to keep it going.
What kind of a time period would you say that was happening in? That was like what, early January?
Yeah, because like I said, I started my job, and so I was, really paying attention to that. And that was like around October through December. And then yeah, I hopped back online, around January. I said, "What the F is going on?"
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like till January till now. So it's like what, like a 3 month, 2.5 month span.
Yeah. And I think you said that you ended up watching my YouTube video that I made about it, which was around the 17th. But I don't know if you watched it right away because it feels to me like initially you were more maybe on the true crime side of things, or was I misunderstanding that?
Yeah, I've never participated. If Allie had beef with someone, like if she started beefing hard with a creator, I never participated in it. I would just kind of like check out. Like, you know how like you just kind of like, oh, I'm not paying attention to that. Like I'll pay attention when they come back around
Yeah.
and they discuss something else. So I never really like paid attention to the back and forth. I knew of the names that Allie would discuss, like only a couple. And it wasn't until later that, yeah, I'm like, why the F is Allie discussing a missing person? I think someone leaked the missing person's name. I went and did a quick internet scan. I was like, I'm looking this up. Like, why is Allie discussing a missing person in this manner? And I thought it was highly unethical. I thought it was highly disrespectful once I looked it up. And that's when I got involved and I was like, what are you doing? At this point on this TikTok account, I wasn't her mutual anymore. So she might have not recognized me. She might have. I don't really know. She told me to go away. I tagged her even when I tried to respond to her, like, hey, like, you need to stop. And that's when people were started warning me, like, hey, she's going to attack you. And then, yeah, then I came across your video and watched it. And I feel like your video really helped me understand like the timeline of other things that were going on the internet that I had no idea of. Because I think most people who watch Allie just watch and they have no idea what else is going on and transpiring here, there in the comment section and et cetera, in messages. And nobody knows that. We just watch the video, we take our word for it, and we scroll because it's TikTok.
When did you initially see the leak of P's real name? When did that happen?
I think it was, God, I can't exactly remember, but I know it was towards the end of January. Like I was late. Like everyone kept like saying in my comments, you're late. This is old news. Da, da, da. And I was like the last person coming into it because, I was doing other things in my life. But because I like looking into missing persons cases and true crime, once I found out exactly what Allie was talking about, I was like, what the F are they doing? You know,
Did
Yeah,
you
I
give
never deleted my video with P's name. It was in the
I don't
comments.
think I saw it. I don't think I saw it then from you because I think I saw it from somewhere else. It was a
okay.
poster. They posted the poster.
Okay, 'cause I never posted the poster in any of my content, but a big part of the hate train against me is that I doxed P. So I would, when you said
Oh,
that you saw that her name was leaked, I was like, who did you hear that from?
no,
Interesting.
I could not figure out who you were. Like she kept mentioning Roxy, and I was like, "Who's Roxy?" Like I was like, I could not figure out who you were for the longest. Um, but yeah, like I think I saw it on someone else's TikTok. I don't think they were a big creator, but they were also invested in like Who's P, and they posted the poster connected to like Allie, and Allie starts a cult hashtag, and
Do you think that was the creator Witch Rose, or do you think that was before Witch Rose talked about it?
it might have been, but the video was up and then it was gone like that because I tried to go back to it and it was gone.
And so I think you were actually the one that I talked to when I was first coming out of my kind of initial week of hell of all of this and trying to get a sense of what even was happening. And I was being really careful not to say anything publicly about P because it already felt like whatever I had tried to say had been, just stirring the pot and a problem. But I was on the back end really concerned about this person because it was more and more apparent that something very, I guess, hinky is the word, had happened. Uh,
Yeah.
the how it rolled out even before I ever talked to Roxy. Clearly something was hinky about that, and I think I suspected something weird around it as soon as she said anything about collecting money from her followers. And so I think I reached out to you or got connected to you just a couple days after I released my YouTube video, if I remember, and we were DMing, and you were really, really helpful with the timeline of events because there was a little bit of confusion around the exact days things were happening. I think that was because her family was out of state, her friends were in state searching for her, and then Allie
Right.
received this kind of this comment on the 10th from a friend, and then Allie just took off, and so there was a little bit of confusion early on, kind of just trying to sort that out. And you were so helpful with that. So I kind of wonder if you
We
could lay that out for us now too, because I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Allie, she came out with all of her info, it seems like publicly around the 10th. And pretty much every missing persons case, this kind of happens where people either A, spread rumors, somebody messages somebody, and it gets way out of hand, or, it just turns into this whole like theories, discussion, et cetera, et cetera. And what ends up happening is it hurts family members. Yeah, and I think the big confusion was how Jessica was never, once she was found, they never updated her poster where it just says found on it. They normally, when someone gets found, they update that immediately. And they didn't do that. So it got confusing because, excuse me, their next post about P was that, they're having a vigil. But sometimes I know vigil normally is for someone who has passed away, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes they will have a vigil for someone who's missing, just, to hold memory for them and pray for them together. And then they're going to go search. So I've seen that too. But yeah, they had a vigil. And then it was confusing because in the post, they're saying, well, we got a phone call today that she was found, but then we had another phone call that it wasn't her. And you're like thinking under this vigil post, you're like, well, was she found or was she not? And it was very confusing. And yeah, the friends are not the first that, police are going to contact. So they're going to get secondhand information passed down the wire when they get it. But yeah, she was found actually, a lot of people say the 8th, but she was found the 4th. So she wasn't missing very long. She went missing on January 1st, shortly after midnight, New Year's Eve. So New Year's Day, she wandered off. She left the house. Allegedly, she had no phone, no keys, and then she was shortly found, maybe 3 days later, 4 days later, at Fairfax Park in Colorado. But yeah, and it's very sad. It's always leaves people questioning, wondering. Yeah, and then I guess somebody anonymously, stranger danger, reached out to Allie, and Allie started a campaign for P. Was it appropriate? I don't think so. And I absolutely think that's why Allie used an acronym name, because if she would have used her full name, let me tell you something. The family, they're always looking up their loved one and everything that's online every day, because that's their torment. And that's like what they go through. You know, they want to see what's being said. And trust me, they would have came for her. They would have checked her so quick. It happens every time.
Yeah. And everything, just to clarify, everything you've said is already completely public info. It's all
Yeah.
available online. And I do think it seems incredibly disrespectful to contact the family without being centrally in the situation, involved in whatever happened, and actually knowing some sort of real world information. I think that some people did contact the family.
Oh my goodness.
I did not, and I don't. None of the people that I like associated with did, and I thought that was terrible. And yeah, I mean, I don't know even how to address something like this in a respectful way, because I think I tried, but also any mention of any of it on a platform is just kind of it's tainted in some way. But yet there's Allie just in front of everyone in the first place, blasting this poor person, and you want to defend her, or you want to help so that there's not so much blowback on the family. But I don't know, maybe the best thing is to just leave it lie, or to just not, certainly trying to not sensationalize it. I don't know. Do you have thoughts about how to talk publicly about true crime things in ways that are ethical or sensitive? Or
I think really when you're talking about someone that's deceased, it's going to get sensitive no matter what. If you're going to do a true crime channel, you do have to be careful, because stranger danger, especially for people who choose to post content about unsolved mysteries. So when it's an unsolved mystery, you never know who's watching. The suspect could be watching. You know what I mean? You never know who's contacting you. And that's when it gets dangerous, you know, and how emotionally invested. You have to ask yourself, how committed are you to this content and to post this story? And do you want to post this story? Does it feel too dangerous? If it does, don't post it. I've had people and stories from other true crime content YouTubers tell me they posted a case and they got threats from people who were a suspect in a case file to take the video down, that they'll kill them. So it gets really crazy. And I don't think enough true crime content creators talk about it, that it is dangerous to do so. Also, when it comes to hurting family members, if you're going to post on something, make sure that you have all your facts in line. And if you're going to post a theory or you're not sure about something, just say it. Say, I'm not actually sure about this, but then just leave it at that. Don't post your theories. It's extremely rude. Keep your theories private. If you think someone passed away because they have psychosis, if you think they passed away because their boyfriend killed them, whatever, you know what I mean? Keep it in a private dialogue. Do not talk about it online. It doesn't need to be said. It doesn't, you know? It's not like Allie was trying to help find this person. They were already passed away. So I just think, you know, like for example, if someone made a video about my Uncle Mike committing suicide, I would be upset. I'd be like, who the F is talking about my Uncle Mike? You know, and his addiction. You know, like you don't know him. So it can get really disrespectful. There are times where family members will contact you if you're a true crime content creator on any platform. And if so, and if they ask you to take something down, you should do it. And that's just the end of that. You know, not everything has to be content. It just doesn't. And that's just point blank.
I think there's a few people on Allie's side of things that didn't really understand the gravity of what you're talking about in terms of speaking on people that have passed and like conspiracy theories and completely forgetting the fact that they once lived, they have loved ones that are mourning them. It's serious. I think people were very focused on the sensation of it all and the TikTok drama of it all. I want to touch on, it was mentioned that people did reach out to Jessica's family directly. And one thing that was kind of surprising to me was the selective outrage about that. I was blamed and accused of reaching out to Jessica's family, which never happened. I never did that. And in the series that I made, trying to clear things up on what I thought happened with Allie and mentioning P in the first place, one of the main things I said was, do not disturb this woman's family. They are mourning her. Don't dig into it just for TikTok drama, because a lot of what's out there is just searchable without having to contact anyone. And people, I don't think, really considered the danger of digging into a story like this without really knowing what the cause of death was, if someone was actually behind it. I think it's really important for people to step back from the drama of it all and realize that there are real people and real danger that can come from digging into it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're absolutely 100% right. And I would say that's definitely a problem I've seen escalate on social media, just period, as we progress and having social media in our lives. People become more desensitized to that's not real, right? How many times have you seen an actual crime committed right there on TikTok, a video's posted, everybody's like, that's not real, that's fake blood. And then the news story will pop up, so and so killed her sister. You know what I mean? So and then everyone was in the comments, so like, it's not real. It's not real. It's just for TikTok. That's a problem with us, that we think that everything is fake for social media. Everything isn't fake. And we have to stop thinking like that. And of course, when it comes to loved ones that get disrespected, we see it time and time again. Look what with Netflix, Dahmer, people were thirst trapping Dahmer. That's how my last account got banned. I called out another creator for thirst trapping Dahmer. And man, they came in on me. They mass reported me, told me what they were doing was art. I was like, it's never art to reenact a dismemberment that really happened with mannequin parts. And nobody, everyone disagreed with me on TikTok because they were too consumed with the entertainment. And hey, I mean, they thirst trapped Richard Ramirez, and there's something going on here with all of us. So, but yeah, if you see something, say something. And that's all I can say about that. And I too was accused of contacting P's family twice. And one by Allie themselves on a burner. And I never contacted, there's no reason to contact P's family. And like you said, everything is public information. It's easily found. It's a quick scan on the internet. And if you have a question, you can normally ask right under her missing persons poster and get clarity. So it's really simple.
Yeah, I really appreciate that insight. And I want to ask you, who would you say to report something to? I guess in different situations, in this situation.
Yeah, if you need to report something, are you talking about like reporting, like if you find something online that's suspicious, like
Yeah, like
pertaining to a missing person, or
say that you do come up with some theory and you're like, this is the golden theory, I solved it. Or even you've noticed something. Like for example, I think the timeline was weird and people were kind of questioning what was going on and whether people were lying. And part of the reason was because Natalie, I think in defending me, said something like Ali should have reported this because she may not have even been dead. And people were like, well, she was dead, so we caught you in a lie. And that's just like a whole unnecessary mess. But really, even so, regardless of how the timeline worked out, the account that contacted Ali was weird and suspicious. And probably Ali should have contacted the police, and it still would have helped a lot more than her blasting it all over online. So I guess my question is like, where would Ali call, or where would somebody call if they're watching Ali's channel and notice that something suspicious is happening, or if they have a theory?
yeah, well, at the time when Allie, you always want to follow whatever their poster says or their online information. If they're still missing, you call the tip line. And you can normally tip it in anonymously, or you can tip it in with your identity. It doesn't matter. It's however you feel. Some places have like an online app where you can virtually just type in your tip. It really depends on the state, if it's Crime Stoppers, doing the tips, if it's the police station. It really depends on each poster, what's happening there. But if the person's no longer missing and they're found, your next step is, okay, is this investigation still going on, or is it closed out? And how vital is this information? Do you feel like the police would already know? Because 9 times out of 10, law enforcement already knows, they just don't say anything. It's not for public information. They've already checked their phone, they've already checked their computer history, they've gone through everything. Yes, they do make mistakes. Yes, they do miss things. So that's when you have to kind of like weigh it out. Is this vital info, and could it help somebody? And if so, do you have all the information, links, screenshots to back it up, so law enforcement can go right to that place on the internet that you saw that, and return to it and take a look and decide if it's important or not? If you absolutely 100% believe that you're sitting on something, it's better just to tip it in. Call the investigating agency, ask if the case is still open, who the detective is, and then ask to talk to them about so and so. And then leave a voicemail. They normally call you back. It can take up to a week, sometimes even longer. I've tipped something into the FBI before, and it took a month for them to contact me back. And they're also not obligated to talk to you afterwards. So you can tip something in. They don't have to call you back. They don't have to talk to you, and they don't ever have to confirm that your tip was important or not. And that's something too that you kind of have to like, well, I tipped it in, I did my best, and that's it. I've tipped multiple things in different ways, but always follow whatever's going on with the case. So whatever's going on with the case, that's what you want to do.
I also want to ask about the coroner's report. I think that was another thing that was sort of questionable ethically, about sort of presuming a cause of death when I don't really have a background in any of this kind of true crime side of things, but you were helpful in helping me understand to what I understood you were saying was that the coroner's report is really the thing that tells you in the official way, and that we may never even get the coroner's report, but I don't think that as of now it is out yet, so we do not know an official kind of cause of death, and it's really not even worth speculating publicly at this point about what the cause of death was, whether it was suicide or murder. Is that all right?
Right. A cause of death, it's private. It's very private. That's the most sensitive information. And family can request that it never be released. And I'm pretty sure that that's where this is going to go. Now, Justice of Flight, which was the search organization party that was assisting in searching for P, they stated that, oh, everything's going to be released. They don't even know that. They could say that. Now, one of the things that struck me as odd when it came to P and just their information was the types of commentary that I would get that were very abnormal compared to anybody else I've ever posted on when it came to a missing person. Normally, well, now they're found, they're no longer missing, but normally you don't get that kind of commentary. And it was a lot of weird messages I would get about their body and stuff like that, and arguing with me when all I did was say like, hey, update, I found out that they were found the 4th. And then I would just get people spamming, my DMs, arguing with me about stuff like, oh, they were found the 8th. They're so and so. And I'm not even going to say it because it's so disrespectful. And all I could think about in my head when people would say this to me, I would literally ask them, well, who are you? And they would never tell me. And then they would say disrespectful things about their mom, all types of stuff. And I would say, well, why would you say that about their mother? Who are you to say that? And I would argue back with them, or I would say, how do you know that? Were you there? Like, and they were, well, I've talked to the family, and that's when I would go, well, who are you? And then they would never tell me, and they would tell me to talk to Brittany from Justice of Flight. And I said, yeah, I talked to Brittany. And they said, well, message her again. They would always argue with, and I found it just so strange, very strange. And I don't know what it was about, but I've never received messages like that over any missing persons case ever. It was weird. It was wild. And I said, what the heck? And I think even you got some weird commentary in your comments over it too, where it was like, it was kind of creepy. It's creepy.
Absolutely, it was creepy. Yeah, I engaged with, I don't know, maybe you're not comfortable, or are you comfortable like saying some of those specific handles or accounts, or maybe I don't know whether it's better to just leave them on the floor, but there were some specific ones that I went back and forth with too, who seemed strangely angry over the idea that we were lying about this death, which just doesn't make any sense. I mean, Roxy and I connected, and on a phone call we looked into this, not extensively in any kind of like, we clicked into this link onto this YouTube video, which was the basis for, I guess that's what Allie also watched, that kind of convinced her of what her opinion of what was happening was. And we pretty immediately saw some of these comments underneath that were saying things like, we miss you and we're hoping you'll come home. We care about you. And the conversation was basically, well, wait, Allie had said that nobody in the world, or not even just Allie, but this commenter, whoever had messaged her, had said that nobody in the world cared about this person except for the commenter, who was her friend, her only friend and connection. But here we're seeing all these friends who care about her, some whole community, and then even family commenting. And so that was really
Yeah.
the basis, I think, for you, Roxy, to kind of say, well, wait, this isn't just a situation where, my friend was horrible to me, very abusive toward me in this conversation you had, but also, what is this entire, like, that was the part that I think struck us at the time as a big reason to come out and say something about it.
Yeah,
Only,
that was the first inconsistency. It was that Jessica was alone in the world. And the first thing I noticed was that was absolutely not true. And Allie had also said that Jessica had no social media presence, and she had a huge social media presence across
Yeah.
multiple platforms, multiple accounts.
yeah, and a successful business, and clearly a community rallying around to hope that she was okay, and even search for her, and then also family who
Mhm.
seemed
Yeah.
like, they might not have been close, but they were not like it seemed like they were going to be in contact soon enough. And it was weird of whoever assumed that she had nobody. That was
And it,
not
it
the
seemed
sentiment
like
looking in.
more than an assumption, because even like looking at Jessica's social media, she was very open about like the day-to-day happenings in her life and where she was emotionally. And she expressed desire to reconnect with her family. She expressed everything that was going on in her relationship. She's very open about all of it.
Yeah. I was we were discussing that the other night, that she was making plans to visit family. She was very lucid about where she was in her life, and that doesn't seem like somebody who's in active psychosis, if you ask me. Um they're not that lucid, and they're not I've been in psychosis myself. You're not able to sometimes describe what like that. And she was very descriptive about what was going on. And the only person, do I dare say, that maybe was isolating Jessica was their toxic relationship with her ex. And it's noted that they were in a complex relationship, which is none of our business, but it existed. So we don't know what happened, the ins and outs, the intimates of there, but there was issues there. So and it's sad that it's come to an end like this, and we don't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened. But yeah, I mean, clearly there were people in Jessica's life every day.
Yeah. And I think another important point about, just again, like all the kind of stuff she was publicly sharing, was that I think regardless of whatever happened, I don't get the sense that she would have liked for the focus to be around how her spirituality had harmed her, because it seemed to me like it was something that she loved about herself, and some sort of like hope and some sort of place where she found comfort and even some level of community. And it just seems so sad that, like, even if it was something that was hurting her, I think if it was me, I wouldn't want that. Just, I wouldn't want that to be the center of my story there. And the way that it was told, I think, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's
And
really
it to me, from my perspective, as someone who's been through a lot of hard things in my life, and I'm a human trafficking survivor, people use spirituality to help them process. Once you've been through something horrible, a lot of people, you're going to turn to creator, you're going to turn to God, or whatever you believe in, whatever's there, whatever you discover to try to lift you back up. You need some kind of motivation, and it doesn't always lead to spiritual psychosis just because Laura Faye might be motivating you to have a better day, you know so I think it's just yeah, I think it is like disrespectful. Like I said, if why would I want someone talking about my Uncle Mike online who committed suicide and all of his spiritual beliefs? No. Like, so it's like it's personal. And it's just not the way to go about things. And I don't think that there was anything wrong with what they believed in. And I don't, like I said, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, but for Allie to take 9 minute and like 53-second video on YouTube and diagnose them, that's a little much. That's extremely concerning. And even for the friend, for them to take, oh, they watched Laura Faye and diagnose them. Like, let's calm down. Okay. Like, seriously. I think it's not right. I wouldn't dare ever say, I know exactly what Jessica was thinking that night. I mean, how could we?
yeah. And I wish there was, I wish there was a better way to just hold space for her, because that entire thing was so disrespectful to somebody who I don't think deserved that at all. But it is what it is. So
Yeah,
thank you for helping us clarify all of that, because I think a lot of that was really important to just sort of lay out on the table, I guess, because all of it ended up becoming kind of the foundation for a lot of the drama farming that proceeded out of the initial event of it.
yeah, because I mean, Allie went on a rampage and was calling everyone saying they have blood on their hands. And I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was a time.
I think one of the saddest things about this whole situation was the way Jessica's video was kind of leveraged and spun and used. And even I was pulled into that watching it, believing the story that was framed around her passing. Like something, it looked
yeah,
like something was up. It sounded like something was up with her. And knowing what I know now, it just seemed like she just needed friends. She needed people to vent to. So she turned to YouTube. And it's upsetting that that video was used to diagnose her with psychosis instead of saying she was just having a rough time. Like maybe her friends could have rallied around her instead of, I don't know, sending it to Allie. That
yeah,
was just not the right move at all.
yeah. And uh, I'll give them this. Everybody grieves differently, and sometimes in grief, people do weird stuff. I'm guilty of it. So, but yeah, and what does that look like now in 2023? But yeah, I mean, when I watch that video now, knowing what we know, I agree. There is something, it is concerning. It does seem like a cry for help for anyone to talk to them. But is it spiritual psychosis, as Allie would call it? I don't know, because I'm not them. But what I can say is, yeah, it's all very sad. And I wish Jessica had more resources to step in or something, you know what I mean? But everything, it's happened, and And I wish Allie never did what they did, because there's one thing I'll say about Allie is it seemed like in the beginning everyone did like Allie, you know, but Allie would do certain things that would cross lines, and this is one of them. And I think this is the hardest line she's crossed, and that's what I was trying to point that out to her on TikTok and say like, hey, you don't cross these lines. Like, you say you have morals and ethics, but this is a line that you've taken it too far. And if you thought the internet wasn't going to find out, they were. Like, stop messing with the people of the internet.
Yeah. And I think your point about resources is so important. And even keeping in mind that, again, just from her internet history, she had faced bullying, online bullying, and also that she self identified as autistic, among other things that would put her in marginalized categories that would make her very vulnerable to, mental health issues as a result of being bullied online, which it sounds like happened to her more than just in one incident. Like, it sounds like it was
Yeah.
something she experienced repeatedly in her life, despite having a successful business and trying anyway. But there's a kind of a lack of resources around that, around adult bullying. And yeah, I think it can be really a dangerous landscape when people are vulnerable in multiple ways like that. And she was vulnerable. She was vulnerable. It sounds like in several different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. Don't mess with the internet when things when things come up like this. And so yeah, we kind of rallied, didn't we?
Don't
Proceeded.
mess with the internet. We'll thirst trap your dad.
Well, first, we're gonna go right there, right there. Because why? Because she put her dad in her videos. Allie put her own dad in her videos. And going back to this troll thing, I'm just now realizing, I can't believe I was kind of so slow on the uptake, that some of those comments, there was a time in there where she was kind of like, oh, it's like AMW is all these stalker accounts. And I was kind of sitting back like, I'm definitely not. So that's kind of funny that you're threatening all this legal action about how I'm the stalker accounts when I'm not. Now I'm looking at it again, and some of these screenshots I was grabbing of just like weird comments flying through at the time, and then I never did anything with. They've just been sitting on my phone. Now that I'm clearing stuff out and starting to kind of process this, now that it's like a time beyond, some of those screenshots, I'm going back to those comments that she was accusing them of being me stalking her. And I'm realizing that they were trolls, but they were intentionally goading her to react to me and to think that it was me so that the drama farming would continue. And I mean, that was an entire interesting part of this too, was just that I think that some of this bullying stuff ultimately was kicking back. Like her behavior was inappropriate with around surrounding the death situation. And I would say surrounding how she behaved toward me, how she behaved toward like Ashley Miller before me, and different people to varying degrees on a kind of spectrum of like, do I need to be called out for something here? Ranging from, yes, this person is, I would agree, dangerous, to this person has not said anything harmful and you're just putting words in their mouth, which I think I fall into that category. But so she's done some dangerous things, but regardless, it seems like there were trolls in this from the very beginning who intentionally wanted to bully not only us, but also Allie, and people that I think even were kind of disguised or acting as agents of Allie in the beginning, who were supposedly supporting her, were really trying to rip her down. We're trying to make it worse for her, and get that drama. I don't know if did you notice that was like happening at the time? Do you remember that far back, or were you paying attention to that?
I think I missed probably a good hunk of it. Like I said, I'm late to a lot, but I know your YouTube video documenting it really helped me. And I think what, sunk it for me, as far as like, because I'm a person where I'm like, okay, like everybody makes mistakes. Are you capable of like learning from your mistake? Like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be embarrassed. It's okay to like, I was okay with Allie yelling at me, go away. And I was like, oh, they're embarrassed, like whatever. But when I started to look into it more, I mean, just all the other things that were going on with Allie on the internet, not just about P. I was really like taken back. Like, I was like, wait a minute. I thought Allie stood for this, that, and the third. And then it turns out they're doing this, that, and the third. And it really shocked me. Like, I was like, whoa, this is not the person that I thought I was following or mutuals with on my previous TikTok. And I was like, and I think the most concerning part was how Allie treated people off of TikTok, who they were offline. I was so shocked. I couldn't believe it. And I said, this is not the person we perceive on TikTok, saving people from spiritual psychosis, et cetera, et cetera. This is not who they are at all. Yeah. And that's when I was like, done. But yeah, I think I didn't really get any wind of like burners as far as people antagonizing Allie. But I noticed that, yes, Allie was like running conspiracies. And I don't know if it was like just because they were like paranoid, but yeah, they were all mostly just like theories, like right off the top of their brain. Like Allie to me always comes off as someone who talks first and thinks later. And then they're like, oops, so
not even
yeah, she's like she's just a loose cannon. She's just gonna and that's it. And I think your video on your YouTube really helps show that there was a lot of behind the scenes that you don't think when you watch Allie's videos that she's doing, but she does. And it comes off as hypocritical, because how are you going to get upset about these people questioning what you're talking about, what you're doing, but then you go and you find people, you get in their comments and you do the same exact thing.
Are you tired of feeling unsafe online? Do you want to learn how to protect yourself from cyberbullying, doxing, and other forms of online harassment? Then look no further than Doxxed the Podcast. Visit the website doxxedthepodcast.com to sign up for the Doxxed free ebook full of helpful tips and resources for online safety. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive the weekly newsletter with the latest updates on upcoming content. There are many ways to connect with Doxxed, including Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. Have a story to share or feedback to give? Use the contact form on the site to reach out or leave a voice message to be featured on the show. And for exclusive content, subscribe to the Doxxed Supercast to gain access to the private podcast feed with member-only exclusives. Take control of your online safety and join the Doxxed community today.
I just don't, and even worse, I just don't get it. That only, it's like only Allie's allowed to talk about Pete. Only Allie's allowed to be the victim. Only Allie is allowed to harass people. If not, it's all a big conspiracy. It's all AMW. It's all Roxy. I like, even when they were on live and accused the CPS thing on everybody, I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
I was like,
CPS on each other. That makes zero sense to anyone. Any normal person, that makes no sense.
Really? Yeah. And the only one discussing CPS was them. So
yeah. There was a lot of projection, and I do think I saw it earlier on. I think I did see it as, because I've never been in a situation like this before. So I was like, is Allie just like super Machiavellian with some of the stuff that's going on? And are we all playing 5D chess? And kind of the longer it went on, and especially toward the end, I started to realize that. And when I made some comment about a disorganized brain, and I think everybody took that as like me calling her stupid. And what I meant though was not that. It was that her thoughts don't go in like a linear order. And it wasn't like a Machiavellian plan, especially not at the end. It was like somebody that was kind of unraveling and becoming really paranoid. And
yeah,
I think that was aided and abetted by the followers, which is so nefarious, because the whole time they were like, we care so much about her. All we're trying to do is reach her, and we're trying to make sure she's okay. And I think maybe a few of them thought that's what they were doing, but there was bad actors in there who were, the whole point was for them to spin her up and get her, go get the police to her house or something. It was just not.
Yeah. Well, I think as followers, they get addicted to the drama too. And then you become accustomed to it. Like, what to expect, like from this creator. and what they're going to post. And I saw actually a lot of her followers asking her to move on, which I'm wondering if they got blocked or what happened there, because Allie was definitely blocking people left and right, and her following was going down. So I don't know if people were unfollowing or she was blocking. But I saw at one point before she lost her 2 accounts, her following was asking her to stop. I even saw Pixie Frogs in the comments, which is normally her ride or die boo, say like, actually, Allie, you should stop. This is going to make it worse. This does count as doxing, harassment. And did Allie listen? No, you know? And yeah, I don't think calling her disorganized, having disorganized brain is calling her stupid. If she perceived it that way, that maybe just because that's how she's perceived herself or what has been said to her before. So it was maybe a trigger. But yeah, I mean, she's all over the place. 1 minute she's here, 1 minute she's there. And yeah, it was becoming super like hyper paranoia. And at that point, her own following was asking her to move forward or do whatever she has to do to move forward. That included a break, if that included that. But they were tired. They were like, come on, another one, you know?
Yeah, I think everybody was tired, but that was also, I mean, she was the only call out account really involved in the mess. And so I think a lot of our followers were tired from the start. Like, please immediately don't talk about this, you know? But for it to even get to the point where her followers were like, okay, this is not good. This is not healthy. People were sounding the alarm throughout. There was always, I think, people kind of sloughing away as it went on because it just got more and more. And I do think that TikTok kind of hides it with its nonlinear format. And so then it becomes like maybe a responsibility of the audiences if they want to be ethical audiences. You know, turns out there's ethics to being a follower of some of these influencers and like giving them your arm, your power. You maybe have to think about what you're doing before you know all the information. Like there were so many people that came into my comments that were accusing me of things that never happened. You have blood on your hands. You know, I got a lot of like you killed this person comments. I got a lot of you're in psychosis, you're a narcissist, you're a you know, you've spread these harmful beliefs about NPCs. No, I never did that. That's not even my kind of content. And I know that it was people who were ultimately, some of them gullible, some of them were just scrolling around because of the nature of the app. It's an entertainment app. And they just found one video by Ali and they're like, nah, I'll get my rocks off, just whatever, going, clicking through one click and then make my comment on whatever Ali generally. But suddenly on my end, it's like hundreds of people are dogpiling me about lies. And it's gaslighting. It is. If you don't understand it is because you're just thinking Allie's right. I get why my response of like, you're being abusive is weird and you think that you're right. But like there's a responsibility there, I think, of the audience to think about what are you actually contributing your power to, because your face is not in it. It's like on behalf of Allie, which could be damaging to Allie, could be damaging to people because Allie's lying to you or unframing things wrong.
Yeah.
I think there are definitely people that cared about Allie's mental health. There are people that cared about our mental health. And I think the people that really cared kind of dipped out. They said their piece and dipped out really early on. I also think, and I know this is going to sound like a tinfoil hat thing, I think there's a very specific group of people very dedicated to seeing someone, anyone involved, absolutely break down.
Yes.
I don't think it mattered who. It could have been Allie, could have been me, could have been Jane. There's a core group of people absolutely committed to seeing any one of us fall apart.
I absolutely agree there. Like you guys were saying, it's drama farming. At some point, all the drama became my 6 o'clock a.m. news with my coffee. So if you could imagine, and me personally, like I cared. I cared that Allie would stop doing this for her own mental sanity. I cared about everybody else that was involved because from a distance, you know, like Allie's hurting people. These people are hurt. It's not that hard to understand their feelings or take time to reflect on that. Like you're angry right now. Okay, go process that anger and come back and communicate in private. But yeah, I think there's people that just don't give a F and they just want to watch. I call them the watchers. You know, they just want to watch and they will antagonized till it goes down or someone absolutely loses it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with the memes, there's a line between funny because either the person making the meme is using humor to heal, or because like other people need humor in this. It was a very dark time in some ways. And then there's like mean, and then there's like piling on. And there's a fine line, I think. It has almost to do with like an energetic balance, because there's a lot of people's takes and perspectives, and then it can range into, what is accountability? Is it really just like punishing someone until they can't stand to even be in the space? But I do also think there's like you some of the content you were putting out was some of the most healing to me, because I was even feeling addicted to the drama of it, in the sense that I was even wrapped up in it, and you can't look away. It's like it's like a train wreck that you're watching.
Yeah.
Like, and especially when you're in the middle, I felt at some points like there's this like 360 true crime docuseries going on around me, and I'm in the middle of it. Some of your content, for example, turned it into a lighter energy where I could laugh, and some of the biggest belly laughs that I shared with friends behind the scenes, not at the expense of Allie, but just like turning this horrible thing of like she's trying to in this one case of the dad thirst traps, trying to use her father to make me feel like intimidated. And then it turns around and it's like this hilarious thing that I can belly laugh at the next day. And that was like the way that I survived in some ways. So, you specifically, but there's also this space for like healing laughter, I think, in these things that just everybody's got to contribute their
Well,
voice.
yeah, and I think it got so serious. And I just remember at one point multiple people messaging me all the time, like every day. Excuse me, I just burped. Messaging me every day that they're scared. And I was like, I mean, every day it was somebody new messaging me talking about they're scared, watch your back. And I was just like,
Wow.
at some point I had enough, and I pulled out, my human trafficking rage, and like, my survivor mode, and I was like, what the hell are we scared of? This bitch, excuse my language. And so then I was like, that's it. I was like, you want my address, Allie? Like, I was just done with it. And then I did like a quick search, and I noticed, yeah, there were a lot of accounts that would screen record her or post like bad things that she would say as proof, like, yeah, see, here's where she said it, even though she said she didn't say it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was just like, that's enough, like, we're memeing this. And at some point I couldn't even watch Allie and take it seriously. Like, I was just like, she's losing it, and this is low-key funny. Like, I'm not laughing at her pain or getting off on it, but when she, just like certain things she would say, like her key phrases, like, I just was like, that's it. Like, like I was like, I
She's
can't.
very, very memeable. Like, to give her some credit, she's a pretty funny person when she's like in a certain way, in this kind of context. Like, the wig, it's all kind of like this wild show, and it's this sort of ritual, and it becomes like somebody's almost, I see why she's a comfort creator, because there's things about her that feel that are just they're very memeable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a line between what's really just harmful and what's bringing power back to people that got disempowered, basically.
Yeah. I even noticed some of, Allie's following, they were getting a good chuckle, even though they were like, what is this? But they were even like, oh my God. Sometimes you need that. You need a break, from that type of stuff. And I just, I was like, that's it. Like, I'm done. I'm done with Allie. I'm just going to meme her. Like, I'm over it. And I just took off, and that was it. And yeah, the whole the battle of the dads. Like, I was like, oh, okay. The battle of the dads. Like, yeah.
Deep cut, creamy, toddler. So good.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that, like, when we did cross that point, we crossed the threshold of like, you know what, we do need a laugh. That threshold it took a long time to step over that. But I noticed that when I crossed that line into like, you know what, I need a laugh. I've been accused for 3 months of having burner accounts. Let me go ahead and make one and have my fun too. And I made my subreddit, my empty subreddit, for a chuckle, Allie Sharts on Cults. I thought that was funny.
It's like it's not
And that
funny,
was
though.
like the biggest offense. I lost friends over that. And I'm like, I was accused of calling CPS and having autistic mothers' children taken from them. But Allie Sharts on Cults is like the greatest sin ever committed. I'm proud of that subreddit. I'm proud of it.
It was the mug. The mug did it all.
Also, I got accused of doing the mug. You know, I'm not going to take credit for someone else's art. That was a masterpiece, and I did not create it.
That whole thing was hilarious. I couldn't with the topics.
It was
But,
art,
yeah.
though, and you had to live through it. Like, I tried to show some of these memes to, I tried to show the original Todd Thirst Trap meme to like 3 different people in my real life. Nobody got it. Everybody just was like, okay, good for you.
I think it was very niche. Like, you had to be either A, involved, or B, following every word for word of the back and forth.
Yeah.
If you didn't, it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
You know? And right before Allie got banned, she mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, she mentioned Save Todd. And I was like, and I started it, because I actually was concerned for Todd. It started on my original account before I created the burner.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, make a burner, fuck it. And I was like, okay, and I started one. But yeah, like, because she's like ranting about her conspiracy to her father, and her father just checks out and like dissociates like in a flashback. And like, I was just like, is Todd okay? Like, I wonder what he's thinking about. Like, is he thinking about like all his parenting mistakes? Is he thinking about when Allie was just a baby? Is he thinking
of his
about
time back in Nam? Like,
yeah, like, what's happening there? So then it was like, Save Todd, and then it took off from there. And I mean, it was hilarious. But the whole Save Todd thing is like, your dad's a person. Do I dare say it, that he's a human? He's a human being. And I'm sure he never thought that this would happen in his journey. We all don't think that, as parents, like, what's going to happen? We worry about our kids, but we're like, we don't know what's going to happen. And here he is in the middle of this mix with Allie and her TikTok drama. And it's overwhelming, probably. And everything else that's going on in her life or has happened. And he's always been there. And it was one thing, I've never seen Allie talk crap about her dad. She does say that her dad is a good dad. He's loving and everything. And, that's exactly what it is. Okay, respect your dad. Save Todd. Respect his parenting. You're under his roof. Respect the hours of sleep. Get off TikTok live. And stop doing all this. If you really feel that all this drama is causing your family harm, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And that he was once hot. He was once a good looking man. Okay. So, and Allie doesn't take him, I get it, it's her parent. Ew, that's my dad. But I mean, he's not our dad, so.
Yeah. The other reason that it's important to remember he's a human is just because she was really she was dipping into the very overused term legal territory, right? Like we were getting into these spaces where it was like, Allie, no, like, you can't post that. And so there was a point where it was just like, your parents are kind of letting this go. And it seemed disturbing that they were, in a way, but I have no idea what the situation was in their house, who they are. And I even do regret, like, I don't regret bringing up politics in this situation, because I think it has everything to do with it. And I know that lost me a lot of social points to do. I do regret, even though she brought these people in, I didn't mean to really put them on blast, and they are just a family. So at the end of the day, if I ever had a chance to, I think I would apologize specifically to the parents for, like, in any way really escalating that, even though I just have to be adamant that, like, I did not bring them in. But what if they lost their house because their daughter was being irresponsible on TikTok? Everybody was just feeding it. I think part of Save Todd is like, let's return to some level of normalcy. Like, this is absurd, and this is going way past the line.
Yeah. And it's like, Allie didn't have to bring your dad into it, but I guess she felt because her dad was already on her TikTok and she would bring her dad into it, she was going to bring somebody else's dad into it. And, you know, it's just at the end of the day, parents have really nothing to do. I guarantee Todd probably doesn't know half the stuff Allie's doing on TikTok. And I'm sure he found out real quick. And you have to remember, like, they're from a different generation. So for them to really understand what's going on is like next level. Also, yeah, I mean, when things started hitting the legal territory, even I was getting threats like, take your videos down. This is all super legal. You're going to get on the case. Like, and I was just like,
You're added to the case.
Please.
Yeah, I got some of those messages too. Just like, you've been added to the legal case. Okay, good.
It's almost like
Yeah.
if she said legal case, legal case, legal case enough times that she would like summon a legal case. It was just never going to happen. It was never a thing.
It's because I called her bluff, because the first thing is she started to like imply that there was some sort of legal case against me in order to get me to stop talking. And I was like, I dare you. And so then it just became this entire spiral, which is, and it's funny and it's not funny. It's funny because I'm trying to take back my goddamn power about this travesty of a situation. It's not funny because it was like a very chaotic, harmful mess. And it was harmful to Allie. And I did think, even at the, because I was being totally traumatized by her, I thought at the time, you know, all I could see was her, the harmful one. And now I'm just understanding more with space about the followers being like having a lot of control over that balance, and for better or for worse, because we all really, through that kind of like all that memeing and the burners, like controlled the whole, I don't know, like the feeling of what was going on even day to day. That's a lot of power for people who don't even have faces necessarily on their profiles to hold, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like the most harmful people from her platform, my hope was that deplatforming her meant that her weapon, which was her followers, would disperse. And they mostly did, but I feel like the most harmful ones just like congregated in a different space with the same goal and the same mindset, same attitude, same action, same everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed Pixie Frogs is kind of like, there seems to be like an emptiness there, but almost like they want to pick up where Allie left off. But then it's almost like they don't either, because they realize it is too much. And I noticed, I don't know if I'm blocked, but I don't see their account anymore.
Oh, I haven't checked recently, but I mean, I hope they're okay. You know,
Yeah.
says just from one human to another, like this has been really
Yeah.
harmful, and a lot of people involved already have a lot of mental health challenges. So
Yeah.
I just hope,
I think their last video, they mentioned they wanted a break, that they were done. But I think their last video was calling out that Allie starts a cult merch, which was hilarious. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, it was done by Rolling Rosemary, who is somebody who really was like driven to tears. And that's another, with people not seeing, you know, not understanding that things are real on TikTok. One thing that people really don't understand is real is tears. And sometimes tears aren't real, as we've seen with Allie. Like, there was a hilarious lack of tears, you know, but it was clearly faked. Yeah, like she walked off at one point in one of the lives. I wish I got it. I didn't get it recorded, but I saw it. And at one point she walked off the corner of the screen, she dumped water on her face, and then came back on and acted like she was sobbing, and then kept forgetting to sniffle, and she had no snot in her nose at all. Like, she literally walked off, dumped water on her face, came back. That's fake tears. Then there's people who are really coming on here, like either because they were bullied into an apology, or not even in this situation. This is across all of TikTok. And that's the drama farming. It's like to target these most vulnerable people for their different levels of marginalization and lack of community support, and get them to cry and then be like, you're faking, you're not really sad, you're not punished enough. And that's some horrific stuff to do to somebody and you're picking them because they're in a vulnerable position. And I think that partly even played into Allie being a target for some of this, because there's this level of like, she's a lot like Donald Trump, except for she's a woman. So and she self-identifies as autistic, and that's, you know, what it is, but she self-identifies as neurodivergent. she's working, she's at home staying with her parents. She doesn't seem like she has a huge support system to my knowledge of friends. I can see how and what she did was wrong. Full stop. I can see how she was easier to take down and people relished taking her down not because she did something wrong, but because she was a woman and there was a good excuse to beat a woman into the ground, which is an ugly side effect of what happened. And it was like no matter what, those people will win because somebody gets to be beat into the ground was the reason for them even being here, not because they were on spiritual TikTok and cared about social justice ever.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's like at the end of the day, can you really stop someone from being online? I mean, Allie is entitled to have their social media, their opinions, their thoughts, just like anyone else. But when you start hurting other people, that's when you've crossed a line. And if so many people are telling you, hey, you hurt me, hey, you hurt me, when do you look at yourself and say, okay, I'm wrong here? And I think it was important for Allie to get checked by Aunt Karen and someone bigger than her, because Allie likes to fight people kind of like on the equal playing field or somewhere right around there
Yeah.
of the TikTok verse. And no one larger has ever come in and said, hey, what are you doing? So I think it was important for someone to kind of like that was unbiased to come in and say, something's going on here. And I'm glad that Aunt Karen finally said, oh, you going to appear in the TikTok court or not? And I called it. I knew it. I was willing to bet money on it that Allie wouldn't appear. And it seems like the only people who don't appear on Aunt Karen's TikTok court are people who are absolutely did something that they are embarrassed of. And they know it and they're conscious of it. The people who do appear, I feel like they get caught up in some internet shenanigans and just shit happens. And it's not necessarily that they did it on purpose or they're just there and they're just rolling with it, and they'll get on Karen's, but like people on Karen's TikTok court, but people who I feel are very conscious and scared of the repercussions or it to air out will not appear. They will play games on Karen back and forth, back and forth.
That's interesting. And I mean, you describe that, and it's unfortunately similar rhetoric that she and her followers use against me. Like when there's a certain level of people ratioing you, it's time to take a step back. Only it's like in my case, that was not accurate just because it had been misrepresented by the larger creator. So there's a level of responsibility there. And what I do like about Karen's court, even though it's a social court, and so that can lead to big mistakes. There's like just a responsibility overall, hopefully for her to kind of do her due diligence, but to even give a space for people to voice their counterpoints about whatever's going on in kind of an equal, somewhat level grounded space where both sides can kind of share different perspectives. That's very different than just being judge, jury, and executioner as a call out creator. Those are two approaches.
Yeah, I've been a on Karen King Jonty follower for since the beginning, like when I first got on TikTok. So I've watched like the whole evolution of their content. I've always, I mean, and on Karen, when she's wrong, she admits she's wrong, but she gets a lot of heat all the time. People disagree with her all the time, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, their thoughts. They don't have to like her, but at the end of the day, I love Karen's court. It's like a new thing. I love it. I watch it all the time.
Is it a new thing? I wasn't following her before this situation, and she did seem to get a lot of heat just from my cursory observations, and even the fact that, Allie dragged her sister into it and dragged her child into it within just like goodness. She made one video. I guess it was after she did the live, and then Allie made like 20 videos about her sister and her child. That's an example of just way over the line. Don't do that to people. Doxxed, whatever. Just that's a lot of heat for giving a playing field for people to express what's going on.
Yeah. And, I also think like one of the most unfair, like ridiculousness that's happened during all of this is all of the heat that Roxy has taken, because they're just Roxy. And that upsets me, just like it really, like, I was like, what is going on with this? And it's not right. None of it was right, and honestly, like, should Allie have a TikTok again? Obviously they can create another TikTok, and that's within their business. But should they behave that way again online? No. Do they need to be bringing up anybody else's deceased loved one?
Yeah.
No. And when it comes to internet safety, if Allie's really that concerned with their family, their dad not being brought into it, the legality of it, number one, stop posting your legal name on TikTok.
Yeah.
If you're really terrified of being doxxed, don't ever post your real identity. There's people that get on TikTok, they never show their face. You can wear a mask, you can come up with a costume and still discuss all your points if you're really that paranoid or scared. And never give your address, never give your location, your city, your state. Sometimes, unfortunately, though, regional accents are identifiable. But in Allie's case, I don't really think hers is identifiable. But, it's like, don't put your family members online. Have a rule about it. Pause, remake the video. Don't have your family online if you're really that concerned about being harassed or bothered, because once you post it on the internet, it's over. And anybody can say anything the same way she can say anything and have her 2 cents about anybody. So if you are really that concerned, think twice and look up internet safety. If you're truly worried about someone stalking you, spend the money and get a VPN. Protect your IP address. Take those internet safety steps and say, I don't need to be Allie online. I'll be Rebecca. You know what I'm saying? So it just all comes off as a little naive, foolish, and contradictory when it comes to Allie always crying and playing the victim to me.
But she also like reveled in being an influencer and wanted to be known and seen and wanted to take up that space.
Yeah,
And the fear of being stalked, the fear of all of that, I'm not saying that's like totally invalid, but how scared can you really be of people digging up your family's information when you do the exact same thing with the intent to scare people, with the intent to stir up your followers to do your dirty work for you? If you're going to do that to people, be ready for people to do the exact same thing to you.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, you can't think that you're the only one that can do it. And maybe just because it's not as public, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get caught doing it. Oh, yes, you will. What comes to the light, what you do in the dark comes to the light. Everyone makes mistakes. And I get that Allie really wanted to be an influencer. And maybe Allie didn't think that any of this would happen, but you live and you learn. And if Allie's out there somewhere listening right now, definitely take the steps to learn about internet safety next time. If you're really that paranoid, I, you know, I grew up when the internet first started, AOL chat rooms, AIM, A/S/L. I was only 13 years old in the chat room.
Ooh, I remember
Yeah,
those.
yeah, people could find you then. Like, we're silly. We're naive. We're foolish. And we didn't think nothing could happen to us. But then as it progressed with Craigslist and everything like that, we find out it's not so safe to sell your furniture on Craigslist, right? Because we got a Craigslist killer. I get it that some creators go for, like, I'm just this person, and oh well, but to me it's like, what is Allie so scared of? If someone doxes me, I'm like, okay, cool, you got my address. You know what I mean? I think the scariest type of doxing are the people who dox with intent to really show up, and it's like, it's about hate over your ethnicity, your race. That's scary as f. Or it's about your gender or whatever. But yeah, for Allie, I'm like, well, you put your name online, what'd you think was going to happen? If your following gets angry at you, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to start looking at investigating you and what you're about. And if you don't have nothing to hide, well, then it's over. It's done. But if you have something to hide, then they're going to find it eventually.
Yeah. And I think there's also a difference between influencers should have every right to speak up and demand that there's a space without people just attacking them like as if
Yeah.
they're objects that can't feel pain. That's different than an influencer just you either even disagreeing with them, even like even raising your voice or having some kind of like tone or whatever. That's something that if you're an influencer, you should just expect. Like people are going to come at you with high level energy. They're going to come at you with anger. They're going to be upset. They're going to think you're wrong. They're going to think you hurt them. And you have to like react to that. You have to be able to either address it or somehow evaluate, decide what you're going to do with that information. It seemed like really untenable, unsustainable for somebody with 500,000 followers to react to every single disagreement with anything they said, even if it was the most polite. Like I'm thinking even like Rolling Rosemary, like the initial interaction, which was screen capped or whatever, was DMs where she was just reaching out and trying to politely call her in. And even that was met with just like a very intense reaction as if Rosemary had tried to hurt her in the first place. That's not sustainable, I think, when it's 500,000 followers or when it's even any kind of large following. You just, yeah, there's a difference between that and like this level where people are like, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to try to, overwhelm you with followers and I'm going to try to intimidate you or whatever. Two different things.
Yeah. And yeah, I think just like, I think to some level, yeah, like the whole like doxing creators has to stop. It does. I mean, and Tofia, I get it. Everyone's mad at Tofia, and this is a whole other creator. But what they did to Tofia is wrong. It was wrong. And I get it. We don't know all of Tofia's business, even though the internet claims they know all of it. We really don't. But to further harass somebody who's going through something with their family and financial issues just for entertainment, or as Ali would say, for sport, that's not okay. And that's kind of like what some of Tofia's following does, because they're just there, just like how they were for Ali. They're just there for the mental breakdown, for when it goes down. And they contribute to that mental breakdown. And that's just not okay. And, there's something about how social media is evolving where this is the thing that people are doing. And it is scary. It is terrifying. It's not okay, but at the end of the day, people you need to protect their identity online and how to do that. And you live and you learn. And sometimes like we get online, we don't think that kind of stuff is going to happen, but it does. And that is scary. But yeah, I mean, I hope that Ali learns, if she chooses to come back on, learns from certain mistakes and has a chance to reflect and critique what went wrong.
Yeah, but I think that's probably a good place to end it because we've been on a while. But I appreciate your perspective so much. Shadow, you're my favorite.
Oh my goodness.
Previous memes. So good.
Save Todd, everybody, for life.
Save Todd 2023.
Todd for president.
I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. And also, I want to thank you personally for helping me find a way to laugh through some of the darkest moments of this whole thing.
Oh, well, thanks, guys. I'm a nobody. Thank you for talking to me as well, and sending all the messages that you did online, and helping me understand your guys' perspective, because I had no idea what's going on. And like I said, I'm really nobody in this, but
you're an icon.
Oh my goodness.
To be honest.
But it's just, but at the same time, I do feel that it's time to move forward, and I'm glad that I got everyone to chuckle. At first I was like, am I being inappropriate? But I was like, fuck it, I'm inappropriate. Oh well.
I don't think you crossed a line, and I didn't want it to be cruel the whole time, and I don't think you crossed a line. I think it was so helpful, and so it was just such a breath of fresh air. So yeah, I think we're all thankful to you. All the people that were like really affected by this, I think are very thankful to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you guys for also, listening to me and trusting me with everything that you guys told me. And, This will go down in top 5 internet history moments for me
Top 5.
personally. So
It's an honor.
All because I'm just nosy. I just put myself right in.
Thank you for listening. Find additional content at doxxedthepodcast.com.